Okay, so there are actually a few different new Nintendo Switch 2 news and updates I want to cover with you all today, but the big headline one, and the one we'll be kicking off the video with, has to do with the fact that the next Nintendo Direct ongoing situation just got a lot more interesting, because you're probably well aware that at the July partner presentation, there was a lot left to be desired, considering the fact that this was the first showing from Nintendo since their console, the Switch 2, officially launched. A brand new generation. We got a partner showcase, not a general, and the games that were there was a few standout ones for me, but overall, a lot of the heavy hitters that we just would have expected to see updates on, like Elden Ring and even Final Fantasy VII Remake, they're just nowhere to be seen. In addition to the fact that we don't have dates for a lot of Nintendo's own first-party content, and this week we did get the confirmation that we are getting an Indie World. In fact, that will go live tomorrow, so we're going to highlight that. But the reason that makes the rest of the ongoing Direct situation more interesting is because there was actually one source that was putting out this information about an indie presentation happening this week from Nintendo early. And they are claiming, a fellow YouTuber on the platform by the name of Switchforce, we're going to dive into the track record that they have established for themselves with this one here. They have put out there that this is part 2 of a 3-phase strategy for Nintendo with their Direct presentations this time around, and they were spot on with the exact day of the partner Direct as well. Granted, that one was heavily reported on in its lead up, but Switchforce on this one was the only source speaking out against it. So we have a lot to dive into in that one, because it does get kind of exciting. And just to set the record straight right at the intro of the video, it's not happening next week according to him, and it could even be further back than the next few weeks. Like, it could still be a September Direct and technically fit into this 3-phase strategy, just so you're aware. But we do have to unpack the most likely possibilities. Then we do have some specific games that will not be showing up in the Indie World presentation, in case if there are one or two that you are holding out hope for. I want to cover that with you all. Nintendo of Australia uploaded a Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment trailer that may have given us a hint as to when that game will actually be coming out. Kirby and the Forgotten Land got a new overview trailer. Star-Crossed World, the DLC expansion, I should say. And I will say that I am getting more and more hyped for this game as we get closer to it. It is looking fantastic. And Yooka Replaylee, a game that we talked about in the lead up to Nintendo Switch 2, is now content complete, and we might be learning about it very soon. So we're going to unpack all of these details. Before we do, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification to join Sunbro Nation if you're new here. And we are going to first get on the same page with what's going on with the supposed 3-phase Nintendo Direct strategy. Listen, if you want to buy into this, if you don't, it's fine with me either way. This is not an official announcement from Nintendo. However, we do now have an individual who has been extremely accurate with 2 different events. They were also the only source on one of them, this week's Indie World Direct, that we now know to be officially confirmed. And it is interesting looking at how this is unfolding, because as mentioned, the partner Direct, it was what it was, but it was the first showing in the Switch 2 generation, and a lot of people are wondering, when is the next mainline general Direct? And according to Zach from Switchforce, who I have not had the pleasure of directly interacting with yet, we are fellow YouTubers on the platform, we've been on the same podcast, but not at the same time. Anyway, they took to social media a while back to start teasing that they knew information about upcoming Direct presentations, and it started out with this tweet back on July 26th, which was the Saturday before the Nintendo Direct presentation partner showcase that we saw take place on Thursday. They specifically said Nintendo Direct this Thursday. Thank goodness it's been too long. And you might remember that while we did know, of course, it would probably be that last week of July if those rumors were going to come true about there being a July Direct, not the beat 'em ups one, but rather Nate the Hates of the world and everybody else actually starting to speak up and saying that there would be a Direct presentation in July. Well, this was pinpointing the exact day, to my knowledge, ahead of what most other people were saying. Attack the Backlog and some other sources were suggesting Thursday as well. I don't believe Nate the Hate was at that point in time. Then we have, most recently on August 3rd, Nintendo making me have to get up early again this week. August 3rd, 2025. He is teasing some kind of Nintendo presentation, then doubling down on that on August 4th, a salty start to Monday from all those refusing to believe there's a Nintendo presentation this week. I will be saying I told you so this time. That's on August 4th. And of course, we did get the official confirmation yesterday morning. Join us Thursday, August 7th at 6 a.m. Pacific time for a new Indie World Showcase Tune in for roughly 15 minutes of new announcements and updates on indie games coming to Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch. And what is interesting is that Zach was very much not trying to say that this was going to be a mainline direct. Like, yes, he used that in the title of the video, but very much clarified, if you listen to the actual video, that it was going to be this mid-step additional presentation that Nintendo does, not the big one, aka not the general. And he has officially also taken to social media past the confirmation of the indie world and says, with phase 2 officially confirmed for Thursday, we can begin to talk phase 3. New Nintendo Direct video on the channel now, more to come, stay tuned. Now in that video, he does go on to say that phase 3 is not next week, meaning if you thought there was some kind of pattern on Partner Direct last week, Indie World Direct this week, and then you have Mainline Direct the following week, he's specifically saying that's not what's going on here, but that when it comes time for phase 3, he will begin to talk about it. And you might wonder how he has a source. Listen, I've actually watched his channel for quite some time, off and on over the years, and I do tend to recall a video from a couple years back. I think he got a job at a game development studio, and whether that was just to promote one particular game or not, you make connections in an industry at that point in time. This doesn't seem to be like lucky guesswork type of attitude online. It's definitely like him staking his reputation on this to the point where he's just confidently, you know, saying I'm going to tell you I told you so, straight up. Like, it's pretty clear that he's very confident in the source he has. It's not a if or guess type of thing, and he is the direct source on this. Very different than when us YouTubers, like in my case right now, I'm reporting on him as the source. If that comes true or not, no skin off my back either way, but I like to keep you guys in the loop with all of the exciting rumor mill speculation talk. And in his case, with him being the direct source, yeah, there is some reputation at stake there, especially whenever you are the only one talking about it, like he was the only one talking about the Indie World presentation this week. So in terms of what will be in the Indie World presentation, before we talked about this phase 3 potential direct, one game that he specifically named that would not show up, in case you were holding out any level of hope or expectation for it, Switch Force Silksong will not be in the Indie World Showcase. So that's just one game that you can take out of your list of predictions. I do think that Silksong at this point in time has far transcended the Indie World Showcase as a whole. Like, it could literally be a show opener or just a main attraction, like a heavy hit point of content in a mainline Nintendo Direct at this point. It could definitely be a show closer for something like a partner showcase. Obviously that didn't happen, but I do think that with the over the summer Xbox Game Showcase alignment with that ROG Ally project that they were promoting, that likely Silksong marketing rights are more in line with Xbox than they are at Nintendo at this point. So I do think that whenever it comes to learning, you know, the exact release date and all of that stuff, it may come from the Xbox side of things. It may also just come as a standalone announcement, as Silksong really does have that kind of following around it now. We're just excited to play it. Hopefully it's out this year still. It sounds like it is on track to be out this year, and holiday season specifically, leading into the holiday season presumably. So the big question becomes, is if we do see this third phase commence, when might it be? Because September is already a month that Nintendo historically holds their directs. Considering that the Indie World is taking place the first full week of August, there's no clear precedent that says Nintendo has to follow up an Indie World with a direct, or there's not even really any kind of notable history of them doing that. So I do think that the floor is open outside of next week. Like, it could be the week of the 18th or the 25th in August, or I really still like the first week or second week of September, and you could still argue that a 3-phase plan, you could say one's in July, Indie World in August, wrap up the phase 3 in September, and that would still be in line with when Nintendo traditionally holds directs, and it would feed into this idea that it was part of a 3-phase deal all along. So obviously we know at this point in time there are too many games from Nintendo's first party lineup that don't have official release dates and or next steps, like Metroid Prime 4 being a big one, that we're just gonna need to learn those release dates. And unless if they all drop individually, I do think that we are due for a mainline general direct, and it is your guess is as good as mine on when it might happen. But we are also in this weird schedule with Nintendo this year where they launched their console in June. They had their big hardware and first party games blowout direct in April, which is already an off month. They did their last mainline Switch 1 focused direct in March, the last week of March. literally the week before that Switch 2 Focus Direct. So we've had one for that type of presentation style this year so far. They did the partner showcase the last day of July. Now we have an Indie World in August. So yeah, everything is possible. Everything's on the table here. They could go late August. They could also just go early September like usual. And it is still going to be weird if they go early September. I wonder if we get a dedicated Mario 40th living in the past year, Mario 40th anniversary direct potentially in that same month. Like, do they go general direct in the beginning of the month and then we actually see them go Mario 40th anniversary in the back half of the month? Or do we see Nintendo kind of just incorporate Mario's 40th celebration into a mainline direct and it's just one central September direct? Or does that lead more credence to the idea that it could be late August and then September is actually saved for Mario this time around? All of these kind of things are on the table, but when you look at the mix of missing third-party games that were not there at this last direct, not to mention the fact another source we do have to go off of with this direct speculation conversation is Chris Dring from the games business, because he was leading into the last direct teasing that it would be a chunky one before we got the confirmation that it was a partner presentation. And he specifically took to the internet to say there were at least 3 games I was told were 100% in that Nintendo partner direct that clearly weren't. Just goes to show how things change. And while that could just be the case that those games were pulled for the direct for whatever reason, it also stands to reason that they are in an upcoming direct, but that partner presentation was not the one, and there were some big missing third-party mainstay games that in his opinion would have made it a more chunky direct that were just missing from the lineup, and perhaps they're already in the works to be in Nintendo's general direct presentation that is still around the corner. So that's really the best we have to go off of at this point in time. If there's more exciting evidence that points towards this happening sooner or later in the upcoming days and weeks, we'll obviously cover that. But for the time being, Indie World tomorrow, definitely go into that with lowered expectations. Independent projects, not the big stuff, is what's going to be there. And I do think that it's interesting to see these different sources kind of suggest that Nintendo's not quite done with direct presentations this year, and I don't think you'd expect them to be, but could there be something earlier even than that traditional September time slot that Nintendo goes on with their next major direct? We'll have to wait and see for that. All rumor mill speculation talk, but I do like Zach's track record with this particular information around both the partner showcase and now the Indie World presentation. So from here, we have Nintendo Australia upload a Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment trailer from the partner direct, and it mentions spring in the description. And now, the reminder here is that reminder that the spring in the Southern Hemisphere is September through November. So while we right now have a winter time launch schedule in our own region for Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, there is in the Southern Hemisphere a spring time frame, which technically ends in November. That doesn't mean it couldn't be a December game. Like, Nintendo can actually throw that seasonal time frame on there and still kind of play outside of those traditional lines like they have done in the past. But I do think that this is a piece of evidence that points us towards potentially seeing this game not only launch in 2025, because that's a concern right now as well. It could be like a January 2026 game by our definition of winter. I don't think that that's as likely to happen anymore. And if anything, it could be a late October, early November game. So I do think that that's kind of an interesting indication that that's what's going on with it. And, this is another one of those games that I think the next time we see it, if it be at a September direct or a late August direct or whatever the case, we will finally get that actual release date for it. I was expecting it at the last partner presentation. That did not happen. So I do think the next time we see it, we get the hard release date. And it now looks like there's more evidence to believe it's going to be something like this year in 2025 instead of that potential January time slot for 2026 by our definition of winter. Okay, next up, we have Kirby and the Forgotten Land Switch 2 trailer showcases Starcross World DLC. The Switch 2 edition of the platformer will be released at the end of August. And listen, I'm going to throw this footage on screen for you guys and read through one of the quick descriptions of the game with the new story and all of that stuff. And also a big upgrade that we now have confirmed. I think we may have known this already, but just having it reconfirmed in the headlines, nice to see. 60 FPS performance out of this thing, and it looks beautiful from the trailer. So a new story, star-crossed world, a massive meteor has crashed into the Forgotten Land, and an impending evil is about to be unleashed. To seal it away, Kirby must venture forth and gather starries, fragments of stars scattered across the land, while exploring new locations and facing a variety of new challenges. Complete Natural Plains, the first area of the original story to access the new Star-Crossed World story content and its starry stages. That's really cool for if you're somebody who has not progressed far into this game yet. You do actually have the ability to get right into the new content in the first area of the game. So they're not asking you to play much to unlock this if you just want to dive into the new stuff. Brand new starry stages. The meteor's impact has changed aspects of the Forgotten Land, and once familiar locations have been transformed. Discover a new path and explore areas that were previously inaccessible, like the tops of buildings and even the ocean floor. Rescue the starries in each stage to progress to the next one, but watch out, the meteor's effects have made the beast pack more powerful, and some newly added foes will try to slow you down too. 3 new mouthful modes: reach lofty platforms with high jump and lay the smash down on enemies and objects with spring mouth, latch onto walls and get rolling vertically with gear mouth, and slide along slopes, jump to reach things in midair, and spin attacks to foes with sign mouth. New activities: collect starry coins in each stage and spend them to acquire new figures. From Astronomer Waddle Dee, you can also head to the Coliseum and test your mettle in an extra tough boss rush, the Ultimate Cup ZEX. Nintendo Switch 2 enhancements: enjoy high quality graphics and faster frame rates across both the original game and Star-Crossed World expansion with the enhanced capabilities of Nintendo Switch 2. So just exciting stuff for Kirby fans. This is an excellent showing for Kirby. If you didn't pick this up when it originally launched, definitely do so now, or at least look on reviews online, see if it's up your alley. The game starts off a little bit easy in the difficulty department, but just a beautiful, fun, relaxing game all throughout, and some really cool, unique boss battles in there too. I would just highly recommend it. And now this extra content, visual upgrade, in addition to better 60 FPS gameplay on the Switch 2, like, I'm here for it. I'll definitely be keeping my eyes on this, and $20 expansion if you own the base game to get this extra content when it launches on August 28th this month for the Switch 2 content. So Yooka Replaylee, to close us out here, is now content complete. A release date is coming soon. So you have Platonic Games' Yooka Replaylee, a remaster of the 2017 3D collectathon platformer Yooka-Laylee, is content complete, and a release date announcement is coming soon. This comes from PM Studios, the physical game publisher who is handling Yooka Replaylee's release date. The company shared a video on Blue Sky giving us a very short explanation on what to expect. The video confirms the game is content complete, and Platonic are currently in the play testing phase, looking for bugs to iron out. And you do have a new trailer that we will have on screen for you as well. Just kind of a quick snippet of various different aspects of gameplay, but I will have my eye on this one as well. I remember covering it in the lead up to Switch 2 because it was one of the games that were just straight up teasing that it was coming to Switch 2 before Switch 2 was officially announced from Nintendo. Like, before you had the official logo and all that stuff, they literally put eyeballs on the Nintendo icon dancing around and looking back and forth like, hey, we're coming to Nintendo platforms. And that was kind of cool for them to do that, and they definitely get some extra people talking about their game. So it was a worthwhile thing for them from a studio perspective, and they kind of knew what they were doing with the PR on that front. But this will be a cool one. Spiritual successor type game to Banjo-Kazooie, collectathon, 3D action adventure platformer. A cool one to look into if you haven't already, and it does seem like we will be learning more about it soon. I don't know if something like this would show up at an indie world or not. I guess it is in the realm of possibility. It also might just be saved for some other presentation or just a standalone social media drop. But let me know what you make of all the different stories we talked about today in the comments down below. How are you feeling about our likelihood for Phase 3 of this supposed Nintendo Direct strategy, and when do you think Nintendo might go live with something like that third phase? Do you think that that comes as soon as the end of August, or do you think that clearly we will be waiting until September for any kind of mainline general Direct presentation? What games do you hope we see featured at the next Nintendo Direct? Is there anything at the indie world that has you hyped? for the prospect of showing up? What do you think about Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment and its release time? Does it hit 2025? Do you think it's maybe 2026? And are you interested in Kirby and the Forgotten Land or Yooka Replaylee? So make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also, make sure you like, subscribe, ring your notification bell. And with that, I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.